The head of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops says the bill has flaws. Archbishop Timothy Broglio says the cuts to Medicaid and clean energy tax credits will impact the most vulnerable. He's also disappointed that the measure adds to the deficit and condemned the final version that removed the ban on federal funding for so-called gender transition surgeries. Joining us now to go over some of this is Patrick T. Brown, fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center. Patrick, it's great to be with you. Let's start with some of the pro-life provisions in this bill. The legislation stops forced taxpayer funding of Planned Parenthood for 1 year, and the head of the USCCB says that he's disappointed that this ban isn't longer. What do you say? What's your reaction to this?
Well, the original text of the legislation had a 10-year ban on federal funding for Planned Parenthood. That was the goal of many pro-life advocates. Unfortunately, due to Senate rules, it had to be shrunk down to 1 year. That's what could get passed. They had a very tight self-imposed deadline. And I have every reason to believe pro-lifers are going to go back and try to push for a longer extension of that ban going forward.
Well, we've heard a lot about what this bill does to Medicaid. What exactly are the changes being made, and how will it impact American families?
Well, the first thing to remember is that roughly 20% of Americans are on Medicaid. So this has a potential to be a mammoth sea change in access to a safety net program that provides health care for a lot of individuals. The biggest change is the introduction of a nationwide work requirement, where now people will have to demonstrate that they've been working 80 hours a month or engage in other forms of community service. What we've seen in the states that have done this is that this actually doesn't necessarily lead more people to work, but it does cut Medicaid rules by people not able to fill out the paperwork properly or other hurdles that get in the way. And so there was a big debate on the Senate and House floor about what this will do, especially to rural hospitals for whom Medicaid is a key source of funding. It's a political vulnerability, no doubt about it.
Well, it's certainly a part of what many of the groups, the Catholic groups that help with social services, rely on. The White House says that Medicaid will be strengthened by this bill by removing some of the fraud in the system and protecting the program for the truly vulnerable. What's your reaction to that statement?
That's true to some degree, but also an exaggeration in others. It's true that the bill tries to prevent illegal immigrants from taking advantage of Medicaid, which they're already banned from doing, but tries to strengthen that. The work requirements sound good in theory, but again, what we've seen in practice, a lot of times families who are eligible struggle to fill out the right forms, rely on employers to submit their paperwork on time, that sort of thing. We've seen this in Arkansas, Georgia, and New Hampshire and other states. So it's really going to take some careful consideration to do this in a way that doesn't lead to massive drops in coverage. And with a very short deadline, December 2026, it's going to be a real burden on states to avoid some of the projections of doom.
Well, we're certainly going to look into that. What about Medicare? Do you see any changes to that program after the president signs this bill?
Republicans are very clear that they did not want to touch old age entitlements in this bill, and maybe they will down the line. It's a political third rail, as we all know. In fact, they did include a $6,000 expansion in the standard deduction, so seniors are more able to deduct from their taxes and benefit in that way. That was a promise that President Trump made on the campaign trail. Unfortunately, House Republicans and Senate Republicans didn't provide similar impetus to expand the child tax credit. They only ended up deciding to bump it up by $200 from its current level of $2,000. That was a missed opportunity, in my opinion, and it sort of takes some of the steam out of the effort to turn the Republican Party into the pro-family party.
Well, it's certainly something we're going to be tracking, especially after that signature is on the page. Thank you so much, Patrick.
Anytime. Thank you.
Stay